bear with me. Hold on, nice enough.
Okay, I'm going to fasten my belt here.
Somebody stole mine. Got my seat. How you doing? Good evening. We'll call the Burlington City Council March 18th, 2014 meeting to order. I'd like to say thank you for being here tonight. Hopefully you will return. This time we'd ask Mayor Pro Tem David Huffman for tonight's invocation.
Sure. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together this evening to participate in this exercise of democracy. We ask for your guidance and wisdom as we go about conducting the city's business. We pray that you enable us to conduct ourselves in a civil manner and remain open-minded to the concerns and opinions of one another. May the actions that we take this evening as an elected body be in the best interest of all the citizens of our town. Amen.
Amen. This time we have a visitor. We'd like to introduce Kel Presley from Troop 1, Grove Park Baptist Church, working on his citizenship badge. Kel, welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. Dad as well. Next item on the agenda is the Code of Ethics. This time we recognize City Clerk Renee Ward. Ms. Ward.
Members of council, it's my responsibility to remind you of your duty to avoid conflicts of interest in matters that are before us. At this time, I ask if there are any potential conflicts concerning tonight's agenda items.
None.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes, March 3rd, 2014, work session, March 4th, 2014, City Council meeting.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Next item is the add-on consent agenda. Item D, Burlington Downtown Farmers Market. Item E, Budget Amendment 2014-41, Recreation, National Recreation and Parks Grant. Item F, Budget Amendment 2014-42, Recreation, Seniors Health Insurance Information Program Grant.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Adoption of the agenda.
We will adopt the agenda with add-ons.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda. These items are typically non-controversial. If anyone has any questions about the following items, please let us know. Item 1A, to temporarily close Lexington Avenue between Front Street and Davis Street during the Williams High School Class of 1970's birthday party on Saturday, May 10th, 2014, from 6 p.m. until 11 p.m. B, to award a contract in the amount of $1,015,064 to Lane Inliner Incorporated for Little Alamance Creek Outfall Sewer Rehabilitation Project. C, to approve a contract or award a contract in the amount of $29,785 to Hydro Structures, PA, for part-time construction administration services for the Little Alamance Creek Outfall Sewer Project. D, to approve the request allowing Burlington Downtown Farmers Market to hold a farmers market located in City Parking Lot Number 1 from behind Company Shops Market to the section of City Parking Lot Number 1 at the corner of Front Street and Spring Street each Saturday from April through October from 8 a.m. till 12 noon, contingent upon receiving all appropriate insurance documents. E, Budget Amendment 2014-41 Recreation, National Recreation and Parks Grant that is spelled out in your agenda. F, Budget Amendment 2014-42 Recreation Seniors Health Insurance Information Program Grant that is spelled out in your agenda as well.
Move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Brings us to new business. 2, City Council will consider adopting an ordinance amending Chapter 26 Peddlers of the City of Burlington Code of Ordinance to regulate the operation of food trucks within city limits. At this time, we recognize David Beal. Mr. Beal, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, tonight before you have a proposed ordinance that will regulate the operation of food trucks in the city. I believe this issue was discussed at a previous work session. The revised version is before you for consideration. Staff is on hand to answer any questions you may have tonight.
Question or comments from Mr. Beal?
We adopt the ordinance.
I'd second that.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. Beal. Item number 3, City Council will discuss changing the time for work session meetings. I assume that would be me. I asked at the last meeting for some discussion on this topic simply because of our expansion January, February, March with the retreat agenda items that seem to allow staff just to get off work and come. Again, but it's just totally up to what you guys want to do.
What you're thinking, Mayor, is to go back to the way we had it before, or continue meeting early, or?
What I was thinking is just starting it at 5 o'clock and having our meeting from 5 until whatever time, and then we could break and have the dinner and then continue, but be finished by 6:30 or 7 at the latest, as opposed to starting at 6:15 and eating and then having our meeting starting at 7, just to move it up forward. But again, that's just my thinking out loud. I have no problems one way or the other.
Sort of like the 6 o'clock.
Idea.
You like 6 like it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys all right with that? Keep it like it is? Yeah. Okay. David?
I'm fine.
Okay. We'll keep it at 6:15, and the meeting actually starts at 7. Not a problem. Thank you. Staff report, Water Quality Maintenance Program. Eric Davis, Water Resources. Mr. Davis, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Rachel, what I need to do to... I wanted to take a few moments to tell you all about some changes that are coming up to our water disinfection practices. In April, we'll be making some changes to our water disinfection practices. Now, these changes are going to be temporary. They are necessary, but they're probably going to be accompanied by some changes in water quality. There's most likely going to be noticed as water odors. Typically, they're going to smell like strong chlorine odors, and we're going to get some calls that we typically don't get. This process will take place between April 14th. It's when we're going to start. We should finish up sometime around May the 12th. Now, Burlington is a provider of water to a lot of neighboring cities. Greensboro is our largest customer. Greensboro is also interconnected with a lot of smaller towns. We collectively call all these systems our partners, our chloramine partners. And the reason we call them that is because the nature of chloramines, what one system does, the other systems have to kind of buy into. So we kind of coordinate all of our water treatment efforts to match one another. There's a list of our partners. Real briefly, I'll tell you why the need for this change. Now, the primary goal of our water treatment process is to make the water safe to drink. And the biggest component of that is chlorination. Chlorination has been touted by medical professionals as probably the single most important advancement in the 20th century to increase life expectancy. Ever since Burlington started treating water, they've been adding chlorine to the water, and that's been in the form of free chlorine. Now, free chlorine is just a particular type of chlorine that reacts with all types of things in water, including the bacteria and pathogens that make water, untreated water, unsafe to drink. And the same properties that make chlorine a good disinfectant also cause chlorine to react with other materials in the water, and those form what we collectively call disinfectant byproducts. There are two regulated disinfectant byproducts, And as a result of some regulatory changes that began in 2012, you all know that we switched our disinfectant practices in our distribution system to a form of disinfection called chloramination. That essentially involved adding ammonia to the water. That ammonia reacts with the chlorine. It makes it a weaker disinfectant, but that disinfectant lasts a lot longer in the distribution system, and it also prevents the formation of some of these regulated disinfection byproducts. Chloramines have been used in the United States for years and years and years. There was a trend to move away from chloramines around World War II because of the increased demand for ammonia. Most systems were on free chlorine for years and years until this concern with disinfection byproducts arose. Now a lot of water systems in the United States are transitioning back to chloramines. And chloramines, most commonly, the easiest way to form them is when ammonia is added to water that has free chlorine. There are a list of some of the utilities in North Carolina that are currently using chloramines, including Greensboro. Graham has been on chloramines for quite a while, much longer than Burlington. And the benefits of chloramine was that we got better control of those regulated byproducts. We have a longer lasting chlorine residual in our distribution system, and that's important as our distribution system grows out away from the water plants. Generally, there's improvements in taste and odors. The strong chlorines that some people smell near the water plant are lessened with chloramines. The low chlorine residuals out in the distribution systems are lessened when we use chloramines instead of free chlorine. And also, chloramine was one of the most economical ways of achieving those disinfection byproduct goals that we were shooting for. Now, since we've switched to chloramines, we have been on chloramines for 3 straight years. A lot of systems have it as part of their annual preventive maintenance practice to switch to free chlorine for a month and then switch back to chloramines. We haven't seen the need to do that in the last 3 years. It's not a requirement, but it is recognized as a good maintenance practice. Because we're tied in with so many other water systems, it becomes difficult to coordinate that effort. So what we've been doing for the last 3 years is just monitoring our at-risk locations to see if there are any signs that we needed to switch to chloramine. It was decided last year that among the partners that we would switch to free chlorine for a month, and then we set about trying to determine the best date for that. High Point, of course, is concerned with the furniture market, and it is going to involve some taste and odor changes in the water for a short period of time. That's why I came here tonight. I want to make sure that everyone was aware of what we were doing, why we were going to do it, and also give you the opportunity to ask questions of us. We have made it public. We have made an effort to reach out to the public. We've contacted businesses. We've contacted the healthcare providers. There's really nothing that we need to have industry do except be aware of it. Their dechlorination processes that they currently use will continue to work. The practices that healthcare folks use, the practices that people that raise fish use to remove chloramines will work when we switch to chlorine. The main thing I wanted to let everybody know was there are going to be probably some abrupt changes in the water quality. When I say water quality, the odor, the taste and odor of the water.
And the time, okay.
That's the time frame, April 14th. We should finish up. We're actually going to stop the process of free chlorine on May the 5th, but it'll take just a little while for that to work its way out of the system, so we're expecting about a week to make the transition back to chloramine, and then we'll continue on like we've been.
I'm sorry.
I think that's it. I think I was going to take your question.
Questions for Mr. Davis?
Other than the smell, you said the taste is going to be different?
It may taste like it smells like strong chlorine. Some people complain of pool water. It smells like a swimming pool, or it may smell like a doctor's office, antiseptic smelling. There also will be doing some flushing, so there may be some, when we do flushing, there's always a chance of having discolored water. But we're going to try to concentrate the flushing on areas where we notice the odor. We're not going to be doing, wholesale flushing throughout the city.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Davis? Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is a presentation from the city manager. At this time, recognize Mr. Owen.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, at the last council meeting, a couple items was just asked to be discussed. And first, let me give you an update on the privilege license issue that is in front of the legislature. There has been a proposal made to with privilege license to have a set fee of not to exceed $100 on any particular business. The mayor had asked that we go back and do research and see how that would impact us. As you recall, Burlington is one of the cities for years, and I can say literally years, that used gross receipts to figure the cost of privilege license, and that was based on a decision by council, and it was a very wise decision, we think, where you wanted to reward your small businesses. As the larger chains began to move in communities, whether it was Walmart or Target or Lowe's, quite frankly, it was very difficult for many of your small businesses to compete. So the concept based on gross receipts was the larger industries were paying the higher privilege license, where your small businesses were paying maybe $25 a year. The legislature has been lobbied, I think, pretty hard by the retail groups of wanting to change that process and make it a flat fee. The impact to the city, what the mayor had asked us to do, and we gave him a figure earlier, and we went back and revised that figure. Based on the $100 issue, it has two impacts. One, if you took everybody's fee to $100, that means you would take the large payers down to $100 and the small guys at $25 up to $100, we would lose about $250,000 a year.
A large payer would be
Walmart, Lowe's, Target,
Best Buy.
national companies. Now, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I would expect if we do that, we're going to hear an awful lot of concerns from small businesses in the community. If you would leave the small businesses as they are now, and a lot of them are in like $25 range, then if this law was passed, or if this bill was passed, it would mean about a $400,000 reduction to the city of Burlington, which is equal to about a cent on the tax rate. Now, the League and the Metro Mayors Coalition is working on this and getting numbers. Obviously, communities along the I-40, I-85 corridor are really impacted, beginning as east to Raleigh and going west. You know, Greensboro, Winston, Charlotte, all are impacted substantially based on size. But you know, I think there's an awful lot of support at the legislative level now to make some sort of a change. Earlier today, I emailed the information to our three representatives, Senator Gunn, Representative Ross, Representative Rydell, and I think this bill will come up in the short session, is what we've been told. And Mayor, you're obviously on the League Leadership Board, and you might want to add to that.
Well, I think this council needs to understand, and I think we all do, that you're talking about a loss of revenue of $400,000, which equals a penny. So if they do decide to do this in the General Assembly, then we have a decision to make to try to replace the $400,000, and how are we going to do that? There's only a couple ways to do it. So the obvious way would be to increase property taxes by 1 cent to make up from that revenue. So at this point in time, it'd be interesting to see what our representatives have to say. This is a hot topic, and it will be dealt with in the short session. And then if it is passed in the General Assembly, the timing to implement when that date occurs would be another issue that we have to watch out for as well. So this is a very serious issue for us. Hopefully, our three representatives will see it our way, because it is a loss of revenue to the city of Burlington. So I think it's something we need to keep our eye on. So you did send an email today, is that what you said? Let us know what kind of response you get back from them. Let the council know, please.
It's ironic, we were approving the farmers market tonight, and you see more and more businesses and more cities attempt to really encourage local businesses. And this particular move goes really the opposite of that in terms of revenues.
And it's really a justification for trying to encourage the smaller business, because they're the ones that are going to invest their dollars, their profits locally. The boxes, they're sending their revenues elsewhere.
Right.
They're not reinvesting them locally here.
I think the other thing that I heard from Raleigh as well was obviously this privilege tax or business privilege tax tax was just basically to get an understanding of who was doing business within your community. That was the original idea behind it. And that, obviously, it's grown to the point where it's a revenue stream, and this is a part of the General Assembly, Governor McCoy's tax reform. I heard him speak on this topic in Charlotte a couple of weeks ago, so it's one that we've got to keep our eye on.
I know it's been mentioned, Mr. Mayor, about some sort of holding the cities harmless on this. Is that still in the mix?
That's yet to be determined. There's some discussion about that. To what degree, I'm not sure.
Well, when you're talking about, if you're talking about adding a service, you've got options, but if you're talking about a flat cut in revenues, there's really no alternative but a tax increase to offset that, because it's money that years and years of budgets have been planned upon, and the infrastructure of how our government operates and the services we provided have been planned upon that. So to pull $400,000 out of that realized budget that we've operated under for years, which have been pretty tight anyway, it's almost an impossibility to say we could just absorb that and keep moving.
Right.
That's how important.
That's right. That's very important. That's why I think it's important that our representatives weigh in to us how they feel about that. So we've got an email to them, so we'll wait a response from them.
Mayor, I have a question.
Sure.
And, in the serving on the league board, is it possible that they take it up in a short session, adopt it, and become effective this upcoming fiscal year? Would it be?
What I've heard is that they would take it up in the short session, but they would adopt it July 1 of 15. Is that what you've heard?
Be effective in 15.
Yeah.
Well, whenever it is,
Yeah.
it won't be good.
No, you're right.
But I was just thinking in terms of our budget, the city's budget coming, if they were adopted that fast, we don't have much turnaround time.
No. But I think the earliest I've heard was July 1 of 2015. Good question.
Yeah, it seems like to me this House group in Raleigh now are taking trying to take all the responsibilities away from the cities. And by doing what they're doing now, our taxpayers aren't going to be able to set up and go with another tax increase. Those guys in Raleigh, we're on it for re-election, but those guys up for re-election. I think our citizens should be writing those guys as well. Not only us, but to Raleigh, to our three representatives, to let them know how they feel about this. You're going to take money out of their pockets.
That's right. I would agree.
I think the public should be informed.
And that's the reason we're having this dialogue now. Hopefully we'll get some print to let the citizens know these are options and they're real problems that we're facing. The other thing is that Mayor Pro Tem Huffman suggested earlier was, you can also cut services. Now, what do you want to cut for $400,000? And so we don't want to get into that discussion. So anyway, okay, Ms. Rowland, thank you.
The other item that you'd asked was an update on the issues that staff and council had identified in late 13, and many of them we've worked with through our work sessions in the beginning part of this year. And I'm not going to go through all the record. You have in front of you a 5-page list of where we were, but I just mentioned to you economic development, the Guilford County Prison Farm, the presentation was made at a work session earlier, January 6th. Obviously, it was just a presentation made, no action was taken. Minimal housing expansion, option 1 of voluntary compliance on front porch enforcement was put in play at the February 3rd work session. Utility construction installation on public easements ordinance proposal was adopted, talked about in work session on January 6th and adopted in council on January 21st, and that concludes about a 3-year process with that. Discussion on potentially expanding the number of city council members. Public hearing was held on January the 7th for input. Water and sewer utility expansion policy. That is coming back to work session. That's been in February 3rd, March 3rd, and coming back at the March 31st work session. The food privilege license policy was passed tonight in ordinance form, beginning at the February 3rd and March 3rd work session. The Graham-Hopedale discussion was held on the Graham-Hopedale Road area for potential land use study and transportation study. to be conducted in January the 6th. Downtown had been expansion options was discussed at the March 3rd work session. Presentation was made. Plans are being implemented now for that expansion this year. A special events policy application form will be coming back to the March 31st work session. It came at March 3rd for approval and hopefully for implementation. The budget process is now on the way. Position classification study, we got a call this afternoon. I think that will be finished by, it looks like now, the second week in April. And will be in final form. Public transportation discussion. It's been discussed at each one of our council meetings at February 3rd work session. Some of this information here has changed due to the weather. Actually, a public information meeting was scheduled for in Mebane, I think, last night. That meeting was canceled, and then a potential vote was going to be taken at the Mebane Council by April the 8th. That probably pushed back some now. Obviously, Gibsonville has voted to go forward. Presentation has been made to the Elon board. No decision by the council. A new manager just came on board last week. Graham, there had been a presentation made at the budget retreat. A public information meeting is scheduled for late March. So that's where we are now with the other municipalities who might be interested in this and being part of that of the public transportation process. The comp plan is underway. Implementation of the graffiti ordinance, which you guys approved, will be in full gear by June. There are approaches being taken now to work through, doing various things to help some of the businesses with the graffiti issue. Some things we identified, we are making efforts to expand our customer service payment processes, and that should be in place beginning in the fall of 14 and certainly finish up by the spring of 15 for all utility customers. Website portals updates have been made, significant updates have been made to police, planning, animal services, and purchasing. Special event pages will be going in completely new design, as will some in public works and inspections. And those are constant changing because of just the state of that. Jordan Lake revisions, actually, Mr. Patterson and I will appear tomorrow before the Legislative Review Committee for the second meeting of that group concerning the issues, especially with still out there with Jordan Lake. And honestly, I think there's more recognition now of just how major of an issue this is, finally, than ever before. I mean, it's finally real money is beginning to get people's attention, and just what are we going to get for all this money we're going to be spending. And it was really interesting dialogue at our last meeting, and tomorrow, actually, they've asked Bob to make a presentation along with Durham and Awassa on what's been invested, and also Greensboro will be there also, I believe, tomorrow making presentations. Fire services, the land has been purchased for Station 6. Utilities are there. Contract with architects for design has been let, and that project is underway as we speak. Bids should be sent out for bids, I say, mid-late summer. City charter, that process has been, updates is underway. Mr. Bateman's been working with Ms. Booker. And the review of animal service operations, we've recently hired a new animal services director, a young lady, actually a nice article in today's paper. She brings extensive experience from Orange County. We were facing some challenges in animal services because it's a challenging role, because as you recall, we're the only city that I know of in the state where this role was turned around, where the county contracts with us, and we're the lead agency for all the others, the county and all the other cities. So we've had some concerns voiced to us about tethering. I've asked Ms. Ayers to come to the May work session. She had implemented the no tethering policy in Orange County, and it worked well, but it's a process of getting it in place and how it would work. And of course, what we're talking about here is obviously it's just Burlington, because we don't control those other jurisdictions. but she will, we'll talk to her about a number of things we're doing in animal services. Again, trying to increase our spay-neuter process, and working with all, as many groups as we can. This is a real issue that we have throughout the county. So we will have her here in May. And I think that is most of the items that you guys were going to talk about. A couple more, I think, is on your list that had been identified, but it appears by, I would hope, sometime in May or June, we'll have most of these checked off.
The only other thing that I would add that we have had some discussion about was the boarding houses. That was, I didn't see that on the list. I know that we talked about it, and that was an expansion, some of the front porches, but that and code enforcement were two issues that I think we had discussed a little bit. Any other comments for Mr. Owen from council about items? The one issue let's see where it is, the issue on the city attorney, it says that the mayor will discuss. Let me put this out, and we can go from there. I'm suggesting that either the first meeting in April or the second meeting in April, depending on what you guys want to do, is that we have that discussion about. I have met with Mr. Bateman and sort of written out a little process, not necessarily what you want, what I want, but a process of a timeline that we can start our conversation from whenever you want to have the meeting. Then we can go through that timeline, we can add to, we can delete in reference to the process. Whether we want to hire a consultant, for example, whether it's a full-time or part-time, all those questions that we can answer right here in front of the public and talk about what we want to do and how we want to do it. If you don't mind, I'd like to go and put the timeline in writing. I can put it out to you when the packet of information goes out for the next meeting, give you a chance to look at it, review it, and then first meeting or second meeting in April, we can have a discussion and see where we want to go and how we want to do it. Because time is ticking, and Mr. Bateman's last day, I think, is
Last of August.
Last of August. So we need to have this person in place, I would think, by August 1st. But again, all of this is up for discussion, but you guys okay with that? Anything that you want to add to that discussion?
But when do you say you'll give us the sort of your thinking, the proposal?
Proposal with a timeline of what we need to be doing. For example, how many people would we like to interview? Do we need to have the interview process, let's say, June and July, if we want somebody on board by August 1st, for example? Just the whole conversation, all of us would be involved in that. I would just put the time out with Mr. Bateman to at least have dialogue, to start the conversation. Nothing means anything other than starting the conversation.
Okay.
And Mr. Bateman, of course, would have a lot of input to what we put down in writing. Like I said, we've had a discussion, but nothing in writing to sort of get the ball rolling is what I'm trying to say.
Do a work session?
No, I'd like to do it at the first meeting in April or the second meeting in April, right here in front of the TV.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I agree, and sooner rather than later, because ideally, I mean, I think if you look at the timeline and just the transition, it would be, I think maybe 30 days may be too tight to get somebody in and work with Mr. Bateman on those items.
So do I hear you saying then that the group would want to do the first meeting in April?
That's good for me.
I would prefer
You
it.
all right with that?
Yeah.
David?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we'll do. Mr. Bateman and I will put together, and we will put this timeline in your packet of information for the first meeting in April.
All right.
Okay? Anything else, Mr. Owen?
No.
Any other comments from?
Harold, can you give us a brief update on storm situation pickup?
Pickup actually begins tomorrow with the contractor group. Nolan was at a meeting earlier today at 5 with the FEMA representatives from state level, and the national people will be here tomorrow. But our process starts tomorrow morning, I believe.
Is it 5 days a week from daylight to dark, or is it 7? 7 days, okay.
So there'll be if I'm not mistaken, Nolan, we anticipate a 3-week swing the first time through, and then there will probably be a second process to go through. So the contract again, I certainly appreciate the council and all the work Nolan did preparing that contract where we were ready to go. Each one of the cities most of the small cities in the county now are trying to piggyback on with this contract. And someone said today, maybe even DOT is interested. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. But it's we've heard anywhere between 50 and 60,000 cubic yards of debris is what's been estimated out right now in the city.
I heard today that DOT did piggyback with the same group.
Well, I know they put it out for bid. It has to be competitive, payment or reimbursed. But it's going to be bids back this week, so I heard.
Okay. I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
had a question from Nolan. Did Mr. Buckland site get certified?
Well, we met with the Diener folks, I believe it was right after our meeting last
Right.
week. And they've done an evaluation of the site, and I think they're preparing some comments to be sent out. But it looks like he's approved for LCID site. But what we're being told from Diener is, we need to go to our sites for this disaster debris, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah,
Take it to our two approved sites through Diener.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, but I just wanted to make sure that he was in the loop somewhere that,
He is working with Diener
Yeah,
on
okay.
whatever his needs are and wants.
so that's not our responsibility, that's his responsibility.
Any other questions for Mr. Owen? Brings us to public comment period. None. Brings us to city council comments. Any comments from council? By the way, congratulations to Thomas. He was correct in last week or last meeting in reference to awards from the Alamance News. So Thomas I apologize to you and congratulations. Any other comments? If
Mr.
not,
Mayor,
yes.
I was just told this is Ms. McGowan's last meeting with us.
Ms. McGowan, congratulations. Would you like the floor to share any news?
I actually lost my voice. I don't know if that's a good idea. My last day with the paper here is the 24th, and I'll be starting at the Hendersonville Times-News as their new education for the 31st.
Well, congratulations. We appreciate what you've done for us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Any other comments? If not, we entertain a motion to adjourn. And by the way, thank you, Kel, for being here, and best of luck to you as well.